Greetings to you, how you doing? It's an interesting one today. It's something I haven't done before. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but it's going to be a bit of a fun one. It's going to be another chicken wine to go alongside my garlic wine that I made a few weeks ago, and it's looking brilliant it is. Anyway, this recipe, mustard wine. Oh yes, you can't beat a bit of mustard on your plate, especially with your beef. I also use a load of mustard in my cooking and my recipes. It really brings out this really subtle, lovely flavour. So I thought, why not make chicken wine using mustard? Chicken wines are brilliant for marinades, for casseroles, slow cut meals, you name it. A good chicken wine really complements, especially if it carries forward the garlic or the mustard flavour that you want to infuse or marinate and slow cook the dishes in. Brilliant for tenderising meats, fantastic for fish. I love them. That's why I'm doing a bit marmy, making garlic wine and pepper wine. Pepper wine? I've not done pepper wine yet. Good idea though. But mustard wine. So what I'm doing is using some Coleman's mustard powder. Yellow mustard. It's like a powder you can get and just add cold water to and make a thick paste. And then you always leave half on your plate because you weigh way too much trying to get the right proportions. Anyway, so I'm going to use some of this and also some mustard seeds. I really use a lot of these in cooking, especially when I make some chutneys. They are brilliant. So how much am I using? Oh, I don't know yet. I don't play it by ear. But I'm thinking maybe a couple of tablespoons of the Coleman's yellow mustard powder, English mustard powder. None of this American mustard. If you're watching in America, English mustard is the mustard you want. No other mustard cuts the mustard like English mustard. No, it doesn't do. Proper strong stuff. Mustard seeds. And you grind them down first in my pestle and mortar. That's the first job. Come on then, help me out with that. Mustard. It's one of those things you either love or you don't. Like Marmite really. Anyway, I'm still here crunching, lots of wrist action, grinding, getting all these little seedy things down into as fine of a grain as I can. To be honest, I'm not too worried if there are some whole seeds in there because it's all going to add texture and flavour anyway, isn't it? Go straight in, nearly done, and then we can move on to the fun bit. Whilst I carry on grinding, I'm going to put the kettle on to dissolve some sugar. That's the next step. Oh yes. The flavour of mustard is best extracted using cold water. You don't add hot water or boiling water, otherwise you end up with a wishy-washy, weak type of mustard flavour. You don't want that. So what I'm going to be doing is adding my ground mustard grains, my Coleman's mustard powder, directly to a demijohn and adding it to about half a demijohn, half a can, with cold water. Then I'm going to be dissolving the sugar and adding that warm liquid on top. That way the mustard would have had time to infuse nicely and it isn't going to suffer from too much boiling water or hot water on top of it. If you don't want to go through all this hard work of manually grinding your mustard seeds, you can put them in the blender and give them a quick buzz. Also works. However, it's not as authentic or as satisfying as giving it a good grind. Once they're ground, you want to put it into a clean demijohn. I guess some of you are after numbers. My wife always says she can't follow my recipes sometimes because I just throw things in. I don't give accurate numbers of the ingredients. So I'll wait for you. Yes. Trusty scales. That is quite a bit, 65 grams of ground mustard seed. Oh yes. And now I'm going to be adding about 10 grams of this wonderful ground yellow mustard powder. Love it. So 10 grams plus 65 grams, 75 grams of mustard. I guess you can use various different proportions of ground seed, mustard powder. It depends what you have lying around. Anyway, I can't wait to try this. Come on, let's pour it in the demijohn. This is a wine I've been wanting to make for ages. I've just never got round to doing it. There's always been better wines in my head to make, things that I can actually drink on the table. But making that garlic wine recently made me realise how great cooking wines are, and they're so underrated. Give it a go, see what you think. Oh yes. Right then, I'm going to top this up to about half full of cold water. Oh yes. That way the mustard can infuse and release all that tasty, hot, powerful flavour. The colour is looking gorgeous, yellowish, gingerish. The smell as well is like the best mustard powder next to your roast beef and Yorkshire puddings. It's smelling divine so far. Fantastic. Give it a stir and then add the sugar. For this mustard wine, I'm going to be using just over the kilo mark of sugar. I don't want a really strong alcohol wine. It's not a table wine, it's only for cooking. So as long as it's over 10%, which is enough to preserve the wine in a bottle, that's the main thing. I'm not after silly numbers, nothing 15, 18, 19%. Just something bog standard in a bottle to preserve the flavour. So I'm aiming for 10 to 11%, which would be just over the kilo mark of sugar. So add that to my saucepan now and pour over some boiling water. Give it a good stir, get it all dissolved. Another reason I'm only using 1¼ kilos of sugar is because that's all I have in the house. I have ordered more sugar. It was meant to be on the ferry over the weekend, but it hasn't arrived yet. Oh well, should be here this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow maybe, I hope so. Give that a good stir, get all dissolved. Now, you want to let the boiling water with the sugar stand to cool. You don't want to be adding hot liquid to your mustard, otherwise you'll lose all the flavour. That's not what you want to happen. You want this wine to carry the flavour of the mustard, that oomph, that fireness to it. Horseradish, another wine I want to make. I want to grow some this year in the garden and make some horseradish wine. Doesn't that sound good? Oh yes, I'm excited about that one. I love horseradish on beef. Anything on beef I love, or on pork even better. Oh yes. Nice bacon butty with a smidgen of horseradish sauce. Fantastic. We'll let this cool now, the hot water, and join me in a bit when we merge the two, add the yeast, get it all sorted, all happy days. Fantastic. Let's go and have a cuppa. See you soon. Alright then. The sugar solution syrup liquid has cooled and is ready to be added to the demijohn containing the mustard powder, the mustard seeds and the cool liquid. It's smelling mighty. We just need to pour in the cool sugar syrup into the demijohn with everything else. Fantastic. It's looking awesome. It's smelling fantastic. Mighty. That's the only word I can use to describe this wine. Is mighty. Give it a stir. Oh yes. Oh yes. And then add some yeast and yeast nutrients. I'm not too worried about this wine having a high alcohol, as I said, there's not enough sugar for it to be a strong wine. I don't want it to be a strong, it's a trickling wine. So it doesn't need a high alcohol yeast. So I'm using my generic own brand El Cheapo big tub of standard yeast. Nothing fancy, nothing posh, just yeast, wine yeast. Oh yes. Actually, bread yeast would work well with this recipe, I think. When you use bread yeast in wine, it does give off a bready, doughy texture and aroma to the wine. Might actually work with a mustard. I think it would work. Bread and mustard, why not? Okay then. Let's use bread yeast. Be daring. It's a novel wine, it's an unusual wine. Let's use a different type of yeast, bread yeast, yes. Bread yeast, right then. 1 sachet or a decent tablespoon if you use a tub. Just gonna pour it in like so. And add some yeast nutrient to help that yeast do its job. Oh yes. Never find a spoon when I want one. All I can find at the moment is my baby spoon. It'll do. It's a spoon. Add in the yeast nutrients, which will really help to give that yeast a good kick start. And I'm hoping that breadiness and the mustard will make bready, doughy, freshly baked bread from the yeast will come through with that strong underbite of mustard. Be great for marinades, great for cooking, great to add in to your gravies for roast beefs, or gammons, or porks, or lamb, any meat. Oh yes. So all I need to do now is put an airlock in a bung into the demijohn and then set it aside in a warm place until it finishes fermenting. Oh yes, fantastic. Right then. Happy days. Right then. I'll leave this here now and I'll update with a taste test when it's ready. So why don't you subscribe and be notified when that video comes out, and all my other weird, unusual, or pretty bog standard wines that I'm going to be doing. Next wine I'm doing is Semolina wine. Oh yes.